Some days it feels like the world is moving faster than your ability to keep up. One thing after another. Notifications, expectations, noise. You wake up already behind, spend the day catching up, and go to bed wondering if any of it really mattered. That low-level anxiety, that restless feeling like you're doing everything and somehow nothing, that's not just you. That's what happens when life gets loud and your inner compass gets quiet. But here's the thing. You're not powerless in this. You're not just a passenger in the chaos. The Stoics believed that even in the most unpredictable moments, you have one sacred power left. The power to choose how you respond. You can't control what happens, but you can control what it means to you. You can choose focus over frenzy, depth over distraction, peace over panic. In this video, we're breaking down 12 simple but powerful choices a Stoic makes every day, not from theory, but from practice. These choices are small, subtle, often invisible to others, but they shape everything. They're how you build character in the middle of a noisy world. If that sounds like something you need right now, and if you're into reclaiming your attention, your clarity, and your calm, there's one simple, free favor I'll ask you. Tap that subscribe button. No spam, no noise, just real tools, real perspective, and a little more stillness in your feed. Let's get into it. 1. Choose to start now. We all have that quiet voice in our head that whispers, "You'll do it later." It sounds harmless, even logical. "You're tired," it says. "You're not ready. Just wait until the timing feels right." But let's be honest, that voice is a liar. And worse, it's persuasive. Because tomorrow feels safer. Tomorrow lets you off the hook. But here's the truth no one really wants to face. Tomorrow is where dreams go to die. Aristotle once said, "We are what we repeatedly do." Excellence, then, is not an act, but a habit. If that's true, and it is, then every time we delay, we aren't just pushing things off. We're practicing avoidance. We're hardwiring hesitation. We're shaping our character with inaction. That book you want to read, that workout plan you've been planning, that phone call you know you need to make, they're not waiting for a better time. They're waiting on you, not your potential, you. In Stoicism, there's a word, prohairesis. It means your inner faculty of choice, the ability to say yes or no to whatever life puts in front of you. Marcus Aurelius practiced this relentlessly. In Meditations, he wrote, "You could be good today, but instead you choose tomorrow." It's a gut punch, because it's true. We keep waiting to become better people, but we forget that the only moment we have power in is now. Not next week, not when things settle down. Now, Carl Jung once said, "You are what you do, not what you say you'll do." And that's where the line between who you are and who you want to be gets drawn. Everyone has potential, but very few people translate that potential into action because they're waiting for certainty, for energy, for permission. But Stoicism reminds us that the universe doesn't owe us the ideal moment. The wise don't wait, they act, even if they're scared, even if they're not sure how it's going to turn out. They start. And let's get one thing straight. Starting doesn't mean you have it all figured out. It doesn't mean the stars align and your fear vanishes. Starting just means you've chosen movement over stagnation. Plato said, "The beginning is the most important part of the work." Why? Because without the beginning, there is no middle. There is no growth, no mastery. There is only another cycle of maybe tomorrow. Psychologically, this is important. Every time you procrastinate, your brain rewards you with relief. That little hit of dopamine that comes from avoiding discomfort, it's addictive, but it's fake peace. It doesn't last. It builds anxiety in the background. You know this feeling, that low-grade guilt that follows you around. Starting disrupts that pattern. It tells your nervous system, we're safe, we can move forward. You build momentum not by thinking, you build it by doing. So here's a challenge that cuts through the noise. Pick one thing you've been putting off, just one. Doesn't matter how big or small. Set a timer for 10 minutes and do it. Start it. Begin badly, begin awkwardly, but begin. That's the only way you ever get better. Because the truth is, you don't need more time. You need more courage. And courage, like any virtue, is a choice, a decision you make in the present moment. Socrates said, "The secret of change is to focus all your energy not on fighting the old, but on building the new." You're not stuck, you're just stalling. And the cure for stalling is simple: move. 2. Choose discipline over drama. You ever notice how motivation disappears the second you actually need it? 1 minute you're hyped up with a plan, the next you're staring at your phone wondering where the last hour went. That's the trap. Most people think they need to feel inspired before they take action. But the truth, the real truth, motivation is unreliable. Discipline isn't. And the only way to make discipline sustainable is to stop relying on your mood and start relying on a system. Here's the thing. Your brain loves patterns. It thrives on predictability. That's why you brush your teeth every morning without thinking twice. You're not pumped about it. You don't need a TED talk or a motivational quote to get you to pick up the toothbrush. You just do it. Why? Because it's wired in. Automatic. Now imagine if your workout, your reading habit, your creative work, imagine if those things were as automatic as brushing your teeth. That's the power of a system. The Stoics understood this deeply. Epictetus didn't say, "Get inspired and then do the right thing." He said, "First say to yourself what you would be, and then do what you have to do." That's the formula. Decide who you want to be. Then structure your life around that identity, not the other way around. You don't wait to feel like the person you want to become. You act like them until it's natural. And structure helps you do that. Carl Jung touched on something similar when he said, "You are what you do, not what you say you'll do." You can talk all day about your goals, your dreams, your ideal life, but without habits, without daily proof, you're just narrating a fantasy. Stoicism doesn't care about what you say you value. It cares about what you show you value through your choices, your rituals, your repetition. Look, I get it. Some days you're tired. Some days life hits hard. But that's exactly why you need a routine. Something simple, predictable, grounding. When life is chaotic, your system is your anchor. You don't have to think. You don't have to negotiate with yourself. You just follow the plan you made when your mind was clear. Plato once said, "The first and best victory is to conquer self." You know how you do that. You stop giving yourself options. You decide ahead of time what matters. Then you protect it with structure. Build what I call your non-negotiables. 3 daily actions that happen no matter what. Doesn't matter if you're tired, stressed, traveling, or busy. These 3 things, they get done. Period. And I'm not talking about huge, flashy goals. I'm talking about things that build momentum. Maybe it's writing 200 words, reading 10 pages, a 30-minute workout, meditating for 5 minutes. Whatever aligns with who you want to become, make it part of your system. Because that's the trick. Habits eat motivation for breakfast. When discipline becomes your baseline, success stops being a question of if and starts becoming a question of when. Socrates said, "Beware the barrenness of a busy life." That's what happens when you fill your days with activity, but no purpose, no rhythm, no ritual. 3. Choose to log off. Your mind is not designed to handle a 24/7 feed of stress, outrage, and noise. And yet most of us wake up and hand over our attention to a glowing screen before we've even had a sip of water. It's become our default. Tap, scroll, absorb, repeat. But this isn't awareness. It's not wisdom. It's a silent addiction dressed up as staying informed. And if we're not careful, we start mistaking constant stimulation for clarity. The Stoics would have seen right through this. Epictetus warned us to avoid the things that make us weaker. And here's the honest truth. Most of what we consume online doesn't make us wiser. It makes us reactive. It hijacks our nervous system, trains us to be emotionally volatile, and floods our day with other people's agendas. We think we're becoming informed, but we're actually just becoming distracted, and distraction is one of the fastest paths away from peace. Carl Jung once wrote, "People will do anything, no matter how absurd, to avoid facing their own soul." Think about that the next time you're 3 hours deep into news articles you can't change or debates that leave you drained. The more we drown ourselves in constant input, the less we hear our own thoughts. The less we check in with what we believe, what we value, and what really needs our attention. And what's wild is this. The world isn't going to crumble if you unplug for a bit, but you might if you never stop feeding your brain crisis after crisis. Every alert, every headline, every breaking news story. It takes a toll, a quiet, corrosive toll that chips away at your ability to think clearly, to feel calm, to act deliberately. Plato said, "The first and greatest victory is to conquer yourself." You don't conquer yourself by giving your mind away to every notification. You do it by choosing stillness, by guarding your mental space like it actually matters, because it does. So here's a simple experiment that could change everything. Block out 1 hour today, just one, and go totally analog. No screens, no feeds, no headlines. Just breathe. Read a physical book. Take a walk with no destination. Journal with a pen on paper. Let your mind stretch out. Let it wander without being pulled in 100 directions. This is how you reclaim presence. This is how you remember what it feels like to think your own thoughts. The Stoics weren't trying to escape the world. They were trying to stay rooted in reality. Not the drama, not the noise, not the endless opinions. Reality. The kind you can actually touch, feel, observe with your own senses. Socrates taught that an unexamined life isn't worth living, but you can't examine anything when your mind is constantly reacting. Silence isn't a luxury, it's a discipline, and in this world, it's a rebellion. 4. Choose the essential. There's something deeply exhausting about doing a lot, and still feeling like nothing's getting done. You check off tasks, answer emails, scroll through updates, bounce between errands, and yet by the end of the day, there's this nagging sense that none of it really moved the needle. That's not just burnout, that's misalignment. You're busy, but not better, active, but not advancing. The Stoics knew this danger well. Marcus Aurelius, in one of the most brutally honest passages of Meditations, wrote, "Most of what we say and do is not essential. If you can eliminate it, you'll have more time and more peace." And it's true. We clutter our days with noise, with distractions disguised as obligations. But the question we rarely ask, the one that cuts through the fog is this essential? Carl Jung once observed that people will do anything, no matter how absurd, to avoid facing their own soul. And often, that's what all the busy work is, a way to dodge the deeper work, a way to feel productive without being purposeful. You clean your inbox but avoid that hard conversation. You tweak the schedule but don't take the first step toward your dream. You overcommit because saying no would mean facing the guilt or the truth. Socrates believed that the key to a wise life was asking better questions. And this one, is this essential? Might be the simplest and strongest filter you can apply. Because when you remove what doesn't matter, what does matter starts to stand out. Here's something practical you can do. Take 5 minutes and write down your top goal. Just one. The thing that matters most to you right now, personally, professionally, whatever it is. Then look at what you're planning to do today. Cross out 3 things that don't serve that goal. You'll be shocked how easy it is to find them and how freeing it feels to let them go. 5. Choose to see the opportunity. Let's face it, life isn't smooth. People interrupt, plans fall apart, expectations get crushed. And just when you think you've got a grip on things, someone cuts you off in traffic or sends that passive-aggressive email that ruins your whole mood. It's tempting to think, why can't things just go right for once? But here's the shift. What if the universe wasn't against you, but training you? The Stoics saw every difficulty, every irritation, as a tool for growth. Marcus Aurelius put it like this: the impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way. He wasn't being poetic, he meant it literally. That thing annoying you? It's a test, a mirror, a lesson. The frustrating people in your life, they are the curriculum, and your reactions, that's the exam. Carl Jung once said, "Everything that irritates us about others can lead us to an understanding of ourselves." That quote stings because it's true. That person who triggers you might be pointing to something unhealed in you. That obstacle that keeps showing up might be the very thing shaping your strength. Most of us want peace without pressure, growth without friction. But Stoicism reminds us that virtue isn't built in comfort, it's built in conflict. Socrates believed that the soul was strengthened through tension, through questioning, contradiction, and challenge. So maybe that person who constantly tests your patience isn't a curse. Maybe they're your gym partner, spotting you as you lift the emotional weight of self-control. Because let's be honest, it's easy to be kind when everyone's nice. It's easy to stay calm when nothing's going wrong. But where's the growth in that? 6. Choose the higher standard. There's a strange thing about growth. It often requires disappointing other people. Not because you're doing anything wrong, but because you're finally doing what's right for you. And that shift, that internal turning point, can shake people, especially those who benefit from you staying small, quiet, or the same. We live in a world that's addicted to external validation. Thumbs up, likes, comments, claps. But none of those things are measures of character. They're mirrors, and often warped ones at that. The Stoics warned against letting the opinions of others dictate your sense of self. Marcus Aurelius said, "It never ceases to amaze me. We all love ourselves more than other people, but care more about their opinion than our own." That hits deep, because how often do we lower our standards, delay our progress, or water down our truth, just to fit in or be liked? Carl Jung once observed that the privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are. But that privilege comes with a price. You have to be willing to walk alone sometimes, to be misunderstood, to say no to what's popular and yes to what's personal. That takes guts, and it takes clarity about who you are and who you're trying to become. Plato taught that the highest good was the pursuit of virtue, not praise. In his world, the wise person didn't aim to be seen as good. They aimed to be good, quietly, consistently, regardless of the audience. That's the bar Stoicism sets. Your standard is your responsibility. No one else sets it. No one else enforces it. It's yours to raise or lower, and yours to live by. Socrates once said, "Be as you wish to seem, not in appearance, but in substance. in private, when no one's watching. That's where your true measure is taken. And when you start chasing your own approval, not the crowd's, that's when real growth begins. 7. Choose to stay grounded. There are days when everything seems to hit at once. A critical comment, a missed deadline, bad news from someone you care about. You feel like you're being tossed around by life, caught in a current that's stronger than you. But that feeling? It's not new, and it's not unique. Humans have been facing storms, internal and external, since the beginning of time. The Stoics didn't promise calm seas. They promised clarity in chaos. They believed the wise person doesn't run from the storm. Instead, they learn how to stand still within it. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Be like the cliff against which the waves continually break, but it stands firm and tames the fury of the water around it." That's not metaphor, that's a challenge. To be steady when the world is spinning, to be centered when emotions want to hijack your reason. Carl Jung said, "Even a happy life cannot be without a measure of darkness." It's not about avoiding the dark. It's about learning how to carry light within it. And that begins with presence, with awareness. You don't have to react to everything. Not every emotion needs a reply. Not every situation needs your energy. Sometimes the most powerful move is to pause. And here's where Stoicism gives us one of its simplest and strongest tools. The question, is this in my control? It's the filter that cuts through panic and helps you respond, not react. When someone says something that stings, ask it. When plans fall apart, ask it. When anxiety creeps in over things you can't fix, ask it. Socrates believed that self-mastery was the foundation of wisdom, and in moments of stress, that mastery starts with breath. So try this. Next time life shakes you, stop and take 10 deep breaths. Not short gasps, deep grounding breaths. Let your nervous system settle, then ask that question. If it's within your control, act. If it's not, release it. Let it pass like weather over the sea. 8. Choose to walk it off. Sometimes the most powerful solutions are the ones hiding in plain sight. We search for peace in books, apps, routines, and advice from strangers on the internet. And yet, some of the deepest clarity comes from simply stepping outside. Literally, no secret formula, no special training, just you, your feet, and the world around you. The Stoics understood the healing nature of movement. Seneca advised, "We should take wandering outdoor walks so that the mind might be nourished and refreshed by the open air and deep breathing." It wasn't just about health, it was about perspective, about stepping away from the noise of society and stepping into the rhythm of nature. A rhythm that calms the nervous system, grounds the mind, and resets your internal compass. Modern psychology backs this up. Carl Jung often walked in the woods to collect his thoughts. He believed nature had a way of connecting us to something deeper, something primal and pure that can't be accessed through screens or conversations. There's something ancient about walking. It engages the body just enough to keep restlessness at bay, while opening up space for real thinking, real feeling. Socrates, too, was known for teaching while walking. So was Aristotle. Their schools weren't lecture halls. They were paths, gardens, open spaces where minds could move while feet did the same. They understood what we often forget. Some thoughts need motion to come alive. Some answers can't be found sitting still. And here's what's wild. When you walk without distraction, without a podcast, without checking your notifications every few seconds, your mind begins to process, to integrate, to sort through what actually matters. What seemed huge an hour ago begins to shrink. What felt blurry starts to sharpen. So try this. Just 10 minutes. No phone, no music. Just walk. Feel the ground under your shoes. Listen to the breeze, the traffic, the birds. Whatever's out there, let your thoughts breathe for once. Let your attention return to its natural state, present. 9. Choose to be kind. There's a quiet kind of power that never makes the headlines. It doesn't demand applause. It doesn't shout or posture. It moves through the world gently, but leaves a deep impact. That power is kindness. And no, not the performative kind wrapped in hashtags or social media posts. The real kind. The kind that asks for nothing in return. We've been taught to see kindness as softness, as something passive. But the Stoics would disagree. True kindness in their eyes is an act of discipline, of mastery over self. Seneca wrote, "Wherever there is a human being, there is an opportunity for kindness." And that wasn't a feel-good quote, it was a challenge, because kindness isn't always easy. It often shows up when your patience is thin, your pride is wounded, or your energy is drained. Carl Jung once said, "The meeting of two personalities is like the contact of two chemical substances. If there is any reaction, both are transformed." Every interaction we have is a chance to leave people better or worse. That small gesture, that moment of restraint, that unexpected grace, it doesn't just affect them. It changes you. It builds your character, your poise, your control. Socrates taught that justice was one of the highest virtues, and in many ways, kindness is justice in action, not legal justice, but everyday justice. How you treat the person bringing you your coffee, how you speak to someone who can't do anything for you, how you act when you're right, but choose not to rub it in. Plato believed the soul grows when we do good without recognition. That's the test. Can you be kind without the spotlight, without credit, when no one's watching? That's where real strength lives. Because kindness, when it's pure, comes from overflow, not obligation. Because the strongest people don't flex their power, they use it to lift, to protect, to give. And that's what Stoic kindness looks like. Controlled, intentional, strong. 10. Choose to read. We don't realize how noisy our minds have become until we try to sit still. One moment we're reaching for our phones out of habit, the next we're neck-deep in a scroll that doesn't end. News, opinions, memes, hot takes, more noise. It's constant stimulation, but almost zero nourishment. Like snacking on junk food all day and wondering why you feel empty. The Stoics believed in the careful curation of thoughts. Marcus Aurelius wrote in Meditations, "The things you think about determine the quality of your mind." And what are most of us feeding our minds with? Highlights, gossip, comparison, distraction. That's not thinking, it's reacting. That's not wisdom, it's mental clutter. And in this age of infinite content, choosing what not to consume might be the greatest discipline. Carl Jung once said, "Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate." Mindless scrolling is exactly that, a habit of unconscious living. You're not choosing what to think. You're being told what to think, feel, and fear. But reading puts you back in control. It slows your brain down just enough for reflection. It gives you space to wrestle with ideas rather than just absorb them. Plato believed that the written word could preserve and transmit wisdom across generations. That's why reading isn't just a hobby, it's a portal. A book written 2,000 years ago can speak directly to your modern-day struggles. Stoic texts like Epictetus's Discourses or Seneca's letters are timeless because they cut through distraction and speak to the core of what it means to be human. Even fiction matters. Aristotle said that fiction is the lie through which we tell the truth. Great novels show us the human condition in all its complexity. They help us understand others and ourselves. They build empathy. They challenge our assumptions, something no feed algorithm is designed to do. So here's something small but powerful you can try today. Replace just 10 minutes of scrolling with 10 minutes of reading, doesn't matter what. A few pages of a classic, a thoughtful essay, a poem. Give your brain something it can actually chew on, something that nourishes instead of numbs. 11th, choose to end well. There's something powerful about sunsets. They signal the end of the day, but also whisper a quiet truth. No matter how messy the beginning was, there's still time to bring it to peace. In life, like in nature, the ending leaves the strongest impression. And that's why how we close a day matters just as much, maybe even more, than how we start it. Let's be real. Not every day goes as planned. Sometimes we snap at the wrong person. We waste hours on distractions. We abandon our better judgment in a split-second decision. But the Stoics remind us again and again, you are not the sum of your worst moments. What defines you is what you choose next. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "At every moment, keep a sturdy mind on the task at hand, as a Roman and a man, to do it with strict and simple dignity." In other words, refocus, regain your posture, finish the moment well, even if the one before it fell apart. Carl Jung pointed out something similar in psychological terms. He said, "I am not what happened to me, I am what I choose to become." That choice, especially at the end of the day, is where power lives. You don't need the whole day to go perfectly to feel proud of it. You just need to end with intention. That could mean a heartfelt apology, 5 minutes of journaling, a walk to clear your mind, or reading a page of something meaningful before bed. Socrates believed in the examined life, the kind that holds a mirror up at the end of each day. Not with guilt, but with curiosity. Did I live according to my values today? What could I have done differently? Where can I course correct tomorrow? These questions don't make you weak, they make you wise. They pull you out of mindless repetition and into conscious growth. 12. Choose to remember. There's a certain clarity that only comes when you realize time is running out. Not in a panicked, doom and gloom kind of way, but in a raw, honest way that sharpens your perspective. When you really feel how short this life is, suddenly a lot of the noise fades. The drama, the distractions, the endless overthinking, it all gets quieter. And what's left? What matters? The Stoics didn't shy away from death. They embraced it as a teacher, a daily reminder. Memento mori, remember you must die, not to scare yourself, but to wake yourself up, to make the most of your time while you still have it. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You could leave life right now. Let that determine what you do and say and think." He didn't mean live recklessly, he meant live deliberately. Carl Jung echoed this idea in his own way. He said, "Life really does begin at 40. Up until then, you are just doing research." It's a playful quote, but underneath it is a hard truth. We spend too much time preparing to live, instead of actually living. We hesitate, we stall, we put things off until we feel ready, but death doesn't wait until you're ready. And that's exactly why the Stoics tell us to reflect on it, not to become afraid of it, but to be freed by it. Socrates believed that the proper study of philosophy was preparation for death, not because philosophers are morbid, but because they aim to strip away illusion. When you know you don't have forever, you stop pretending you do. You stop wasting hours on things that don't matter. You stop holding grudges. You stop playing small. Because deep down, you know, the clock is ticking. Plato viewed the soul as something that thrives when it lives in alignment with truth and purpose. And what better way to align with truth than to remember how temporary everything is? That argument you're having, it won't matter someday. That dream you keep pushing back, someday might not come. Memento mori is the ultimate reset button. A mental shift that reminds you you're here now, you're breathing now. So do something now. Life is short, but it's also wide. If you choose to live it with clarity, discipline, and purpose, every day is a blank page, every moment a chance to write something better. So choose wisely, live deeply, and carry these Stoic truths with you wherever you go. If this spoke to something inside you, there's another video waiting on your screen right now. Something I think you'll find just as powerful. Thank you for being a part of Stoic Journal. It means more than you know. Until next time, stay steady, stay strong, and keep walking the path. We'll be right here when you're ready.